Aanyu to the border of Uganda and South Sudan. The panel discussion that we are going to have at this point in time focuses on cross-border learnings. And especially we are going to talk a lot more about the border of Uganda and South Sudan, and also bring onto the fora other cross-border issues in other locations. So our theme is unpacking a cross-border triple nexus approach to durable solutions in humanitarian and development setting. And this is a reflection from one of the projects that is implemented by LWF Uganda and LWF South Sudan, and CDSS, which is a local partner that is working in South Sudan. So in the panel, we have 6 panelists, and one of the panelists that we have is Ogeno. Ogeno is a Community Development Officer from Paride Ogili Sub-County in Lamore District, and he is also the chairperson for the Local Project Advisory Committee for Lamore. Joe, can you please come and take your seat? As Joe takes his seat, the other panelist that we have is Flora Aanyu. Flora Aanyu is the chairperson, Local Project Advisory Committee from Budi County, Eastern Equatoria, South Sudan. She's the chair lady for Budi Sub-County, representing women in Budi Sub-County. Florence, you're most welcome. Please take your seat. Third on my list is Charles Ogeno. Charles Ogeno is a researcher, is an LWF staff, is the Learning and Innovations Coordinator for the Campus Project, and he's based in Lamore District. Charles, please take your seat. On the panel, we have Dr. Gloria Seruwagi. Dr. Gloria is a researcher. She's an educator and an advisor on humanitarian and development issues, and she undertakes quite a number of extensive work along the border and the Great Lakes region, and she's also the co-founder of the Director of Center for Health and Socio-Economic Improvement, Chesai. If you look at that banner on my right, it has Chesai. Chesai is born from Makerere University. Dr. Gloria, please take your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, I still have the pleasure of inviting one of the panelists, who is Angela St. Jules. Angela is a friend to LWF and CDSS. Angela is a senior project manager from the EU Lives in Dignity Grant Facility. She works with UNOPS in Geneva, but she operates from Copenhagen, that is in Denmark. We have the privilege of Angela being with us today. And last but not least, we have Hakim Paride. Hakim Paride works with CDSS. CDSS is Community Development Support Services, is one of the local organizations that we are working with, which is based in South Sudan, is the project manager for Campus Project. Hakim, please take your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, this session is going to be moderated by 2 great ladies. One of the ladies, you already have her on the podium, and the other one is Dorcus Maloba. Dorcus is a researcher. She's a mental health specialist, and she also deals with programs related to global health system strengthening. Dorcas, please come and take your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, as Dorcas is taking her seat, we have a great honor that we're going to be talking about cross-border. And if you look at the banner on our right, it talks about cross-border opportunities for migration, peace, and self-sustenance. And during the previous panel discussion, we've been talking quite a lot about issues related to self-sustenance or sustainability. So much of the discussion we are going to have is actually going to focus on the learnings that has come out of that project that has been implemented across the border of Uganda and South Sudan, and we shall learn from it. So the first part of the discussion is going to be moderated by Dorcas, and I'll give her the opportunity to take on now. Over to you, Dorcas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miriam, and good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
I hope you're being encouraged and you're learning so much from these discussions. One writer said that discussions are good because they're good for knowledge sharing. Arguments are not good because they share ignorance. So as the discussions are going on, please let's make sure that we learn something and we go away with something. Today's discussion, we are going to, I'm introducing the triple nexus approach, and this is our opening statement. The triple nexus is a term used to capture the interlinkages between humanitarian, development, and peace sectors. It is designed to coordinate international efforts, reduce duplication, waste of resources, and programs, and make the prevention of crises and conflicts a shared goal of all involved in humanitarian, development, and peace work. This approach calls for a new way of working where actors are expected to work towards collective outcomes over multiple years and when appropriate. My first question is going to go to Aanyu. Aanyu, yes. My first question goes to you, and this is the question. In reference to the campus project, how has the triple nexus framework addressed both the immediate humanitarian needs and long-term development? How has the triple nexus addressed both immediate humanitarian needs and long-term development in the cross-border context? Yes, please.
Thank you, Dorcas, for the question. Yeah, it is true.
Okay, do you want to bring your microphone here? Yes, and turn it on as well.
Yeah, it is true. The campus project addresses immediate and long-term needs of the displacement persons. I would start with the immediate needs that have been addressed or that the project is addressing. Well, on the side of protection and peace, we were able to have engagements with the local authorities and the communities, and we were able to have two agreements. One is on the cross-border, that is particularly cross-border, and the other one is at the community level. These two agreements have provided a conducive environment for the communities to return and to give them freedom of movement and access their farmlands, the markets such as auctions that are happening along the borders. It also allows some communities that trade, still there is barter trade that exists. Some communities still can exchange goods for grains from where they have been massively said to be in conflict. There is also peaceful integration. We're talking of cross-border. I speak from the concept that there are South Sudanese who have come to Uganda, and they go on self-repatriation. So when I talk about the peaceful integration, we say once a person leaves South Sudan and comes to Uganda, when they go back, they experience some people might have occupied their home, or someone has occupied their farm. And when they are getting home, there used to be some resistance. Get out of my home. So it creates conflict. But what we do is to engage them to have a peaceful transition for the person occupying the home or the farm, to have that understanding, this is the owner and I have to quit in a way that is not destructive. The peaceful integration also came through us giving them the coping mechanisms. Like the youth are given the vocational training so that they become productive members. When youth are not given training, they can commit crimes. But if they are given the skills, they will be able to engage into productive works. And the tendency is to carry out robberies and all this mitigates down. With the women, we have the VSL groups. We are giving them to support them with the kitchen garden so that they are able to start with at least something to start with life. But of course, it might not be the answer to all of their issues, but at least it addresses some of their issues that they have. They can save some little money and they can pay the school fees and meet medical needs. Within the cross-border project, the returnees are able to know their rights and whom they can contact to access the right. For example, through the cross-border, the communities are able to know when there are issues to do with cross-border. They know the immediate authorities that could answer these questions are the local government, the commissioners and RDCs on both sides. The immediate needs of displacement affected people are mainly like the question of water. Whether the person is on transit or is central, water is a key element. And in this, we were able to do some rehabilitation to meet the needs of these people who are moving. Like we have to increase the number of water tanks in certain, because the community around certain experiences in and outskirts of returnees and those coming to the refugees. And the water point becomes congested. And so conflicts develop around them. So increasing the number of taps, increasing the volume of water mitigates the likelihood of conflicts around the water points and saves time for women lining meeting the works. We have offered rehabilitation and construction of schools. And this meets also the immediate needs of children and long-term needs of children. The immediate needs is a roof protects children from harsh weather conditions, and it does provide additional protection and conducive environment for life. And we have also given a training to teachers to be able to help the children that are living with disability. So this is how it has been contributing to the immediate needs and as well as the long term. The referral pursuits have been okay. They need to know from whom they can get a service, even the psychosocial support. For those who have trauma, on our side we do not have the component of psychosocial support, but we were able to work with other organizations, especially on the side of Jules, There is a psychosocial support officer who sits in the hospital, and we refer most of the victims to go and access these services from the hospital. So that is briefly what I can,
Thank you for sharing. I was going to say about time. Thank you for sharing those reflections in terms of the immediate needs for the vulnerable populations. I want to take this time and also for the same question to Charles. And in light of the triple nexus framework, both to address the long-term and immediate needs, but also share maybe some challenges that come with coordinating the triple nexus approach.
Thank you, Dorcus. When it was incepted in 2016 during the World Humanitarian Summit in Istanbul, I think the focus here was mainly in providing conditions that can let people live life in dignity and to let people have peace and safety. Because when you look at the triple nexus approach, one thing that can combine all of them is peace and safety. And under campus project, I think one component that the project has really done very well is the areas to do with cross-border peace-building dialogues, areas to do with the cross-border working agreement, the Lotome agreement involving the warriors in Bodi. These were purposely to create conditions for people to live life that they can achieve in terms of livelihood, in terms of economic development. And one thing that I've noticed is these major activities or major interventions have really created conditions that help our people, the displacement affected population, generate income, but also engage in cross-border trade at lower levels, which is very important, like in improving life. One thing that I witnessed is the fact that displacement affected population really need to improve their life. They really fight hard to ensure that they live a better life. We have seen the example of IGA group in Lobone, in Magui, who have started produce business, selling produce in Uganda while getting the product from South Sudan. And they could only do this when there is peace. They have been able to do this because stakeholders, especially the government stakeholders, have been able to engage each other and coordinate on issues that can reduce on some of the barriers to movement, the barriers to conducting trade. So I think that is a very, very important component. But I also look at, for example, in Budi, we have seen cattle readers who were trained on peace prevention and management by CDSX, for example. And it's very important that they really engage themselves in cross-border cattle business instead of going to raid. This is very important. You see there around Kabahinda and that side of Budi. I felt that is really very, very key. But also very importantly, when you look at our intervention in the settlement, the intervention is preparing the refugees, for example, using the settlement as a training ground for them to gain knowledge and skills that they can really replicate wherever they go. They could go back in South Sudan and replicate the same skills. We have seen individuals who have returned to Pajok, for example, and the project from our side in Uganda have given some farm tools seeds and those farm tools, of course. And they are using that to get involved in farming, which again they send the money back like to support their families whom they left in settlement. But also the other term is preparing them for more kind of permanent return, not just for cultivation mainly, but in kind of like understanding the situation back home and also preparing their family to return back. Well, I think there is a very practical and conceptual linkages between the triple nexus approach and durable solutions. Because when you look at the stakeholders that we engage, their focus is mainly about having situations that can allow their people to go back. And I've looked at this when we had the cross-border engagement. And one of the refugees representatives from the RWC3 made mention very clearly that we want to live life in dignity. No one wants to live life in exile. So this project creates that opportunity for them, like kind of to try and think but for themselves about durable solution. The solution, the durable solution answer does not rely with UN. It does not rely with these government, not like NGOs, for example, but it relies with the local entities, local population down there, the local government, the displaced and affected population themselves. We have seen that official repatriation, for example, as it sounds, has been less successful. Why? Because when you look at most of the refugees in Paride refugee settlement, some of them has been refugees for more than 2 times. They have gone back, maybe say for example in 2008. They returned, they were repatriated officially after those agreement, but they found themselves in 2017 as refugees again. When you look at the engagement that they had, the cross-border dialogue, for example, women were very critical about this, and they emphasized the importance of having local engagement rather than having these external forces with power who comes and intimidate them so that they cannot discuss issues that really affect them. And we have seen their influence in our project very well, that their understanding of peace is coming from a different lens than the understanding of peace, for example, from the side of men. And they do understand the kind of suffering that they go through. They do understand what the community goes through more than us. And I was very impressed that they kind of like this, and I don't want to use the word disruptor, they kind of like positive influence that the discussions will be basically community, because they have looked at, for example, the conflict around Winkwood, where farmers were attacked and their properties were looted by unknown gunmen. But it was very interesting that the women really understand that the source of the problem is not really verified, it's within them. Like the people who are owning land, for example, they call them landlords, who are coordinating maybe with some people from Uganda to access land, but sometimes the process does not go well, and it ends up causing conflict. And because of this, they really wanted it to be local kind of peace dialogues, so that they can air out, they can speak the truth in front of those people who could be perpetrators. And they're wholly accountable, and they make you also feel guilty by telling you the truth because you come from the community. And I think that is very important. But also one important component. One important component is the holding of government authorities accountable on issues that affect communities. If it is business, if it is peace, anything is very important, and that is what connects the triple nexus approach. And I think it has been done well in our context.
Thank you for those reflections, and those are key challenges that have been highlighted. I want also to maybe refocus the same question to Dr. Gloria. Maybe you could highlight for us the triple nexus framework. He has highlighted some key challenges, but also can you highlight for us the immediate humanitarian needs and long-term development in the cross-border context, but in line with women, vulnerable populations, and children. Maybe this will be building disabilities.
Yes, I hear you well. Can you hear me well? Okay, I hope it's on now. Dorcus, could you repeat that question, please?
Okay, you're going to share with us, discuss with us, the triple nexus framework addressing both the immediate needs, humanitarian needs, and long-term development issues or matters that in cross-border context, in line with women, children, or people living with disabilities and underprivileged.
Okay, thank you. First, let me say, joining the congratulatory messages that have been passed on to Elder Dale. Congratulations on this milestone. I think it's great to be here. And ladies and gentlemen, what we are hearing about from Hakim, our colleague in South Sudan, and Charles on the Ugandan side is really taking a front seat to a very novel project, I would call it. A project that has an approach that I think it might have been done elsewhere, but we haven't seen much of it in Uganda and we haven't tested it. So that is the Campus project, which is cross-border opportunities for migration, peace, and self-sustenance. And I think that, so Dorcus asked me to talk about the nexus in terms of those categories of the population, women, children, people with displacement-affected populations. It really is everybody, because at the end of the day, women occupy nearly 3/4 of the refugee population, women and children. And then add that heightened vulnerability of disability, you really are talking about all the populations. So it's great to hear the experiences from Akin. I think it was great to just take that dive and then hear from Charles what is working and what's not working. So I think the design and delivery of the Campus project it's one of a kind. As HSI you would have had is a Center for Health and Social Economic Improvement, and it is a center within Makerere University. There are some components that make this project very, very different. As I said, the design of the project and how it's being delivered. One, the fact that it's dealing with both pull and push factors of these displaced populations on either side of the border. So on the Uganda side, on the South Sudan side, and then the partnership and the setup of the partners and how they are responding. On the other side, on this side of Uganda, we just heard from the last panel, the commissioners and the stakeholders on the Ugandan side, how the refugee response has evolved in Uganda and the successes and the challenges, obviously. But then on the South Sudan, we don't hear a lot about what happens to these countries of origin for the humanitarian populations, the refugees. But on South Sudan, I think that mentioned that we are, in this project, we're dealing with returnees who've gone back, whether self-repatriated or otherwise, but also the communities within which they return. And they are specifically tailored interventions that are tailored for our returnees' needs. But also, just to say that it's not, as I'm sure we all know, those of us who are in this room, that this is rarely linear. It's rarely straightforward that someone comes to Uganda and then returns to Sudan just like that. I think you had most of the people on this panel being introduced as researchers, and Charles in particular has authored a very interesting paper on the yo-yo kind of movement, which was a very interesting descriptor of how they keep going back and forth. So the interventions cannot be straightforward, they cannot be linear in nature, they are very, very complex. So in terms of the needs, I think the project is on the right track. I think it's looking at needs, the different needs which the partners are addressing. So on the Uganda side, you have mental health and psychosocial support, you have livelihoods, because that's what people need, and because it aligns with the government policy on integration and self-reliance and really humanity. And then in line with what LWF has been doing all these 45 years, giving hope to people that are in distress. So the need, and then on the other side, you have more long-term things. I think Hakimi mentioned, you might not have social support, although it's needed, but there are developmental infrastructural interventions that are being done. So how this nexus is working is exactly how we have had our colleagues describe the activities that they are undertaking. Very much aware of the complexities involved in the cross-border movements. Very much aware that some of these issues might not even be fully addressed at the project level. They are, for example, the issue of peace. There is the level that the community can go up to. There is the level that sub-national can reach. But then some of these are high-level, macro-level issues. And what this project, for example, has done to address some of those things is you would have heard about the agreements that were signed, the peace agreements, the cross-border working agreements. And for us as a research, as a teaching and learning organization, Makerere University and CHESA, it's been like an absolute joy and a learning curve to support this. Support, for example, the compilation and then refinement of these cross-border working agreements, knowing that it's a drop in the ocean of what else needs to be done for the needs of women and children and people with disability, really for the needs of all refugee, returnee, and displaced populations of any form. So I hope that kind of addresses the question that you asked. I'm happy to take any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gloria, for that reflection. It's really clear about the other populations that are existing in the displaced camps. I want to give Julie Joe. My next question goes to you, and it's a bit of a wide question, but I would want you to answer it. You've had a kid, you've had Charles. They have put up some challenges. What are the possible solutions? What would you suggest? But also, I would want to hear the government. How does the government come in? How do the local actors and actors come in to improve this coordination of the cross-border exercise?
Yeah, thank you, Dorcus, and thank you all the audience. I first want to put my voice on the voices already that came and congratulate LPAC for these 45 years of movement. Congratulations. We are here talking on a very important topics, and that is our experiences in this project called Campus, cross-border opportunity for migration, peace and self-sustenance. I will recall that this project here was initiated in the year 2022. That was the inception, and after the inception, what is very striking is the component on protection, because you will recall that this project here has three components. One has already been talked about, that is livelihood, and then the mental health, where a group of people who have been suffering from trauma, they have been taken through interpersonal group therapy, and they were able also to regain their mental capacity, and they also started to demand for some other services like asking for money, where they can also now do business. lot has already been talked about on this. But I want to talk about specifically on the agreement which was signed. You know, this agreement was signed between authorities in Magwe, authority in Woody, then authority in Equators, and then the authority at the district level, Kirkuk district and Lamore district. What is very striking in the agreement which addresses the concern which has been raised now, the coordination in the nexus and in the triple nexus approach to address the development, address humanitarian issues, and then addressing also addressing the other part there. So when you look at this agreement, there are very many provisions. One of them is ensuring the security, the safety of the people who are moving across the border. And this is particularly rests upon with the national government and then also the district government. You will recall that the district representative of national government, they also inform the national government, like the officers of the RDC and other players in the line of security. So, to improve coordination between the returnees and people who are moving along the border, I think it is the responsibilities of these authorities to ensure that there is protection of human beings along the border, so that people can move freely, so that people can do business. For example, just in the month of July, because of provision of security, trade expo was organized in Maloba, where South Sudanese who are doing businesses and also Ugandan people who are also doing businesses, they converse together to carry out businesses. And this is something that we expect, and this is the role of central government to ensure that there is peace. Because when there is peace, you are already addressing development. When you are addressing development, you are already preventing humanitarian crisis. And that is where the coordination between the three triple approaches can work very well. Another thing that I want to talk about is the provision of social services. We have heard from the speakers who have already spoken in this panel that there has been provision of borehole, there has been provision of other basic necessity to the people who move along the border and also to the people who live along the border. So by strengthening service delivery along the border, it will have already gone a long way for the contribution of the local government, the contribution of government to ensure that people really live in dignity. This is one thing that I want to talk about, and it is a provision which is also in this working agreement, which put the stakeholders, the parties in this agreement, put us to ensure that those services are provided. And if the two governments continue to provide these services, it will have gone a long way to ensure that coordination exists between the two countries. One thing that I also want to talk about is concretizing peaceful coexistence between people, the community in southern Sudan, the community also in northern part of Uganda, that is in Kirkuk and Lamore. You will realize that this border here has not been very safe, even before the movement of the refugees inside and outside Uganda. There has been cattle rustling, there has been dispute over land, which has also resulted into deaths of very many people, like Sam was talking about. So if the national government work very hard to ensure that our people learn to stay together as neighbors, this will have gone a long way to improve also on their life in respect to development, in respect also of creating peace among the people. This is achievable if local government can take it as a point. One thing that I also want to talk about is the involvement of the local government, we know that there are key players at that level, in respect of the political leads at sub-county level, the political leads at district level, and also other players. They should also move down, because sometimes work can be done above here. But if you leave the local people down there without knowing their roles to ensure that they live in peace, they also live in development, and also avoid humanitarian crisis, sometimes you may not achieve a lot. So if these players can move down to our people, to mobilize them, to participate in these activities that can bring peace, I think a long way we will have achieved the intention of the security along the border. This is something that I want to talk about it. In these questions, there are still also barriers, which I still want to talk about it. When you look at decision-making forum in respect of bringing peace to the border, you will realize that it is male dominant, it is dominated by men. You will realize that very little participation of women are always seen. So if women can also be involved, like Charles was telling us, this can also be a way of addressing these challenges, which can still, these barriers, which can still prevent coordination in achieving development, in achieving peace, and then preventing humanitarian crisis along the border. So I want to say that women should also be involved. One thing that I want to talk about, as I end my point, is also some cultural mindset which are still in our people who live along the border. Sometimes you realize that these youth sometimes come to steal animals, because if they want to murder, they are just hiding. The parents of the lady demands over 100 cattle, and that is why the youth who are male take that venture to come and steal, because they want to murder. So that is one thing that is a barrier, and I think by sensitizing them and then changing our culture, it will have gone a long way to achieve the triple nexus demand. Finally, I also want to talk about the culture that prevent women to participate in decision making, just like I said earlier on. So if women can be allowed to also participate in decision making, actually women are peacemakers. They need peace more than men, and they can also advocate for peace more than men. So a long way we shall have achieved the contribution of the local government, then the contribution of also the lower level actors into achieving this triple nexus demand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe, for those insights that you put up.
Dorcus, can you please draw the microphone near to you?
Okay, thank you, Joe, for those carefully incited that you put across the comments. They're really, really important to this discussion. But also I want to bring the same question to you, Flora, now that you're on the South Sudan side. The same question. Kindly let's keep it short for the next people that are going to give feedback. Thank you. How can governments, South Sudan side, and local actors improve coordination in the cross-border triple nexus framework?
Thank you so much, our moderator. First of all, I would like to say I'm privileged to be in front of you and also be part of the forum in discussing the issues affecting our communities living across the border. Once again, I'm Flora Jules from Woody, Eastern Equatorial State. I'm married with 8 kids, and also I'm a little bit, my level of education is small. I would have to apologize maybe if I have some problems. Forgive me. You know, in South Sudan, especially the community where I come from, the level of education is when we reach primary 7, that is the high level of education for women where I come from. So for us who are the women leaders, we just hustle around there because we have the leadership skills and we are able to take our community delivering services that is suitable for the community to benefit. Coming back to the discussion, I know there are issues affecting our people across the border, especially the border between South Sudan and Uganda and also Kenya. And I'm one of the person who lives along the border of Uganda and Kenya, and we are the affected community who are affected by the issues affecting people along the borders. And so many peace dialogues have been carried on by different partners, by the government, but we came to realize most of these things, most of these dialogues, and also the resolutions people put down are not implemented, both by the community and also the government of South Sudan and Uganda. So, with this triple nexus framework, humanitarian development and peace building, so we also came to see like there are some strategies and actions to be harmonized, like across the border. People should come with some strategies, new strategies on how to handle issues across the border. And one of it is establishment of joint coordination platform, like forming the peace committees that involves women, the community leaders, the youth, and also the local people, like the landlords. These people plays a very big role in peace building. If we involve these people, these are the very people who can actually talk the issues of peace. Because our communities of Karenga, Delamo, Budi, and Iguato, these people know their borders. They know their local borders. They know how to live peacefully by them, compared to now, where we have some political interference and also a lot of criminalities along the borders. But by then, those people are living peacefully in their borders. So, when forming these committees, it can work because they can be able to maybe monitor some criminalities or peace across the border. And also, we are seeing that the government of Uganda and also the government of South Sudan should have regular cross-border dialogues or meetings that involve the local leaders. So that when it comes to decision making, the local people should also be there. But we find in most cases, when we have cross-border peace dialogues, you find it's only the government comes and the partners, maybe with other people, leaving the community behind. And also, it makes like the resolutions that are produced in that meeting, it is so difficult for the community to implement. But when we involve these people also in these meetings, so it also makes implementation of these resolutions works. And also maybe the issue of refugees, the returnees. The local people and the local communities that are living across the border, they will be able to address some of these issues that are affecting our communities across the border. Like when we have the refugees, like last year, but when some returnees went, they were trying to go back to South Sudan, reaching at the border, So there is no one receiving these people at the border. So they get stranded. The people from Karema have to call the government of Budi to come and receive these people at the border. So when we have these people, we will be able to address also these issues of returnees and also the refugees who are living in the camps. And also another thing is we are supporting the cross-border security early warning systems to detect and respond to security threats such as cattle poaching and violence among the communities across the borders. So it is also good if we can support the security along the borders. Our community are still hostile. They have that minds of cattle raiding, they have that minds of poaching, and in the border where we live near Kidogo National Game Park, where animals are kept, and we find these poachers could just come and hunt there. So after that, when they are detected, like in June, some people came and poached within the park. They were detected, and 12 people lost life on that process, of which the government of South Sudan and also the community were not happy about it, because we know animals are also important, but we also need to value the lives of our people compared to the lives of the animals. So this thing was almost creating tension at the border, but with the help of the community, the local communities on the ground, the government and our partner CDSS, we were able to intervene and talk to our people so that this thing is handled at that level. They should not go for revenge. So it was something which was not good, of which we also advised the government of Uganda, in case you detected these poachers, it's better to arrest them other than killing them. So when we are having this security system, like we know on the side of Uganda, they have these gadgets of detecting, like they can see someone from afar, there is someone coming. So if we can use those gadgets to track these people, it will be of good. But now we know in our side in South Sudan, most of these things are not there. People are still concentrating on other things. So we are unable maybe to get some of these gadgets that can detect the cattle raiders or the poachers along the borders. And also, there should be a collaborated cross-border patrol by both the government of Uganda, South Sudan, the local people, the youth, especially in remote areas, to prevent criminal activities. We still have people who are armed, especially in South Sudan. Most of our youth are still handling guns and they are too hostile. So if the government can have a patrol team that can move along these areas where most of our people are being killed, ambushed, their things are taken, then this one will also reduce the rate of criminality all along the road. So you find in the local community, we have the RCs in my county. These are the resident community who are trained at the community level to safeguard the people. So we can also use these people to make patrol locally, because they are not armed, they don't have guns, but they can also detect some of these criminal issues along the borders. And also, as I said, my community is still hostile and still having guns. We will also need the government, especially the government of South Sudan, at least to have some control of these small arms. Like how, I know with disarmament it is something big, but there are some ways that they can also handle the issues of the targeted groups who are having the guns. Like when a criminal is arrested, then that gun is taken away from him. That is part of disarmament. That is voluntary disarmament. So by doing this, we are trying to reduce the issues of criminalities. along the borders. And also, like this youth, we also need to give them some alternative livelihood, like opening the vocational training centers so that they can undergo training and they earn their lives as they live along the borders. And also we are seeing also the involvement of women in security meetings and decision making in addressing issues of peace along our borders. You know, our men undermines women. But when we talk, we can also say something that can help the community. So in most cases you find when they are doing the decision making, they don't put women in decision making. Especially on security side. I can tell a story in my county within Chukudum town 3 years ago. There was a rampant cattle raiding taking place within the town, and it was disorganizing actually the town. Most of the NGOs have left because there was a security threat by the cattle raiders. And these men were sitting there every Monday having security meetings, and there was nothing that was happening. Then the women have to stood up and talk to the commissioner. Commissioner, we need you to involve us in decision making. We also need to attend the security meeting that you people are having every Monday. We need to be part of it. So the women came up with an idea of the government of the county should remove all the cows within the town and take it very far, so that when these cattle raiders come, they fight there, they should not come to the town. And the government did it. Up to now, there is no any cattle raiding taking place within the town. So it is very important to have involvement of women in also decision making. We can contribute, but people see us women as if we have nothing in our heads. Though we are illiterate, we have not gone to school.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop you there because of time. Thank you very, very much for the insights that you've shared on this particular element and topic that we are dealing with. I want to, because of time, my next question is going to Angela. Yes, we'll come back to you, Flora. Yes. Angela, how can regional and global bodies improve coordination in the cross-border triple nexus framework?
Thank you. I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate LPAC since you gave me a seat. So congratulations to you and to all the staff. I had the privilege to work with the staff for a little more than 2 years on this project, along with actually everybody here, very closely, and Dr. Gloria talked about it already, and Charles specifically as well. The nexus is not easy. It's still rather new, and it's very dependent on the context. So what we have in the Lives and Dignity Grant Facility, which is funded by the EU, our focus is on development-oriented programming in displacement situations. So we work here, but we equally have projects in Afghanistan, in Myanmar, in Sudan, in Niger, Colombia, and so on. And what we are finding is that our partners are telling us about the nexus is that it becomes very challenging when something happens. So if you're implementing in your rather good state here, in a safe situation, but once you have an incident, whether it is a big issue, such as the war in Sudan, or there are smaller, more localized incidents that affect on the border, as we have heard from our colleagues here, it becomes very difficult for the partners that are implementing to prioritize how and what intervention should happen. When you have a lack of basic needs, how do you focus more on livelihoods and development programming? So this balance is very, very challenging. And with that, what we have as an ask from our partners is more flexibility. So as a global partner who also happens to be privileged in the seat as a donor, thanks as an intermediary through the EU, we we are able to support the project teams to work in a flexible manner to understand the changes in the program. Because whatever kind of nexus programming you have, whether it's across 1 year or 5 years, there will be a need for course correction. There has to be, and we discussed earlier today about when there's not. That's when we raise also the question, how could there not be? Because we all know that there are changes in programs. So I think at a regional and global level that we sit in this very privileged position, we need to find ways to be more flexible. Practically, we can set the frame because we still also have to assure value for money, we still also have to assure transparency and so on. But we can work with our trusted partners to give the frame and understand what the local context is and be responsive and facilitate any changes that are needed in the programming. We can also see where it's possible that you can provide such very practical things such as contingency budgets that allow you to access very immediately to provide some emergency assistance as needed. So these kind of conditions, I think, can be set, I don't want to say by the donor community, but we have this role that we can kind of create some conditions and incentivize this, but then we also work with the partners in a very open culture where we try to understand the needs. And there I think it speaks to the flexibility as well, because once we work together very closely and we build this trust, then we can be more flexible as well. I could talk forever about many things, but if you allow me, I also want to mention on partnerships, because I think nexus programming, cross-border programming in particular, you cannot do a cross-border program unless there's a dependency on either side of the border. Then we're just talking about multi-country project, and you might as well have two separate projects. So you have to build this across and have the dependency. And with both Nexus and this cross-border programs, partnerships are essential. We cannot all be experts, and we shouldn't all be experts. We can learn and appreciate the work that development operators bring, and humanitarian work and peace building as well. But we shouldn't all be experts, so it's about creating these partnerships and leveraging the expertise that is there. And there again, I think that as a global entity sitting in a donor position, we can set this criteria where we require certain partnerships. And that is exactly what we did in LID, where we said, you must have at least two partners. You must have at least a local partner. You are encouraged to have a research partner. Because what we wanted also is not necessarily just a local NGO and an international NGO, but we wanted more private sector, we wanted more research entities, we wanted refugee-led organizations, we wanted local authorities. We got a few, but they were hard to get to, So this kind of mutual respect, also conditions that you can create that equalize the partnership so that everybody has an equal voice, equal footing, can invest in their organization and so on, I think are very important steps that we can practically take to make some differences for the implementers on the ground that can, of course, work better with the local communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Comments that you put across in terms of improving coordination with the cross-border network, and that is for the regional and the local and the global bodies. Thank you very much for that. For the next section, I'm going to give my moderator to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and for your patience, and for, I see everybody is awake, and that means that the learning is actually taking place. And also thank you very much to the panelists. You've been great from where I was seated and listening to you. And at this point in time, I want to share one of the learnings that we had in this project during the course of implementation, which was more of a dialogue approach with the donor, which made the process of implementation really smooth, and unpacking every challenge that we have and placing it on the table and saying, come on, UNOPS, because we're a bridge between us and the EU. These are the challenges that we are facing. Sometimes we plan for activities and then they're not implemented because there's a conflict at the border, and because of that we cannot proceed, and this affects the time in which we implement activities, and then also the issues around inflation, especially in South Sudan. You've planned your budget and then suddenly the prices go up, and then you're like, okay, what do I do from here? But like Angela already stated, it has been really a conversation and getting to understand these challenges together and seeing how we solve the challenges. So I want to just ask Dr. Gloria, because we are bringing this to a close, to just share with us 2 learnings, most significant learnings from this project, from the side of the research and that Makerere brings to the project. Thank you, Dr. Gloria. If you can take on from there.
Thank you, Miriam. And the learnings are many. The good thing is that they've been coming through from what our panelists have been saying. And I will just emphasize a bit about recognition of the diversity and complexity of implementing such projects, and being able to be responsive across that spectrum of diversity of need for the displacement, the displaced populations that we want to, whose outcomes we want to improve. So moving on from, for example, from needs-based approach and moving to rights-based, and we see this in the triple nexus that we are implementing. That on the Uganda side, there's where it's skewed to needs and addressing them, and at the same time there's also a bit of rights. So it's that recognition. And then on the South Sudan side, as we said earlier, there's more of infrastructure development, and there's a lot of service delivery and empowerment and all these other things, and recognizing that these factors flow across both sides of the border. So for us, it's been a big one, moving away from just life-saving interventions to empowerment interventions, moving away from needs and moving on to rights, and going back and forth. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's very difficult to do this in a linear fashion. And I can't talk enough about that need to localize. The localization agenda is upon us, ladies and gentlemen, and there's no way we can run from it. But practically speaking, on the campus project, we've seen it work, and letting the local people take charge and inform any interventions that are being done. I think it was lovely hearing from my fellow panelists, the lady leader on the South Sudan side, and even Mr. Ogeno, that need to really involve women and how transformative that can be. So so moving from recognition of the diversity of the populations, of the needs, of the pull and push factors, and how we need to be flexible enough to respond to them as required. And then moving on to co-creation and community-led or community-facing approaches. And moving away from tokenism, just saying, yes, we have 3 women on the LPAC committee and that's it. This is real. We are seeing transformative responses and outcomes in the project areas. And then the capacity support. Somebody in an earlier panel mentioned about the approaches being science-driven. That is one of the key also distinguishing features about this project, that it is very much a learning project. It's driven by the evidence, and we keep rethinking, thinking, wondering with an O, then wondering with an A, and learning, relearning, and learning again. There's so much, even the things we thought we know, they pan out differently sometimes, depending on the context. So they're very context specific. So I think it's that whole being able to measure and learn and track and then respond based on that. Those are some of the learnings. I said there are really, really many, but in line with the science or evidence-driven approach, some people would say evidence-based programming, the nomenclature, the naming keeps shifting, and sometimes they're not even sure what's politically correct, but it's really being driven by data, being driven by what really works, and then being able to track it. One of the things we've been able to do and continue to do, even as the project comes to the end, is trying to build a network of what we've called citizen scientists. And many of you, I believe, in this room might be familiar with that notion of a citizen scientist, that you do have people in the community who can collect this data, who can make sense of this data, who can disseminate the data and throw out practical recommendations on how does this then inform not just the programming that partners, amazing partners like LWF and other IPs, CDSS and other IPs in the border field are doing, but also how does this change our behavior? Because we see it works, the data is showing that it works. So we are trying to do that, train, capacitate the community to be the citizen scientists, so to speak, and let them have that stake. As we say, it's community driven, it's community focused, the localization agenda kind of comes in. So it's the nexus with the peace on one hand, the development, and then the humanitarian. It really calls for a very wide, but yet wide and specific at the same time approach to really responding to these things. And as I said, it's interesting. We have seen the peace agreement, we've seen the infrastructure development, we've seen the actual services being delivered. We've heard from the people and also seen transformed behavior from maybe cattle rustling to more productive behavior among the community members, and bringing their own cohesion in the communities and fostering peace, as well as this coexistence that we seek to see. So learnings, just wrapping up, there are very many. The project comes technically to maybe to a pause. Should we call it a pause? At the end of this year in December, as Makerere, we are the learning partner, so we are measuring. We just started this September the end-line evaluation. So the jury is still out on how this works, and as I said, it might the cross-border approach might have been done elsewhere. We haven't seen it tested in Uganda. We haven't seen it tested before in South Sudan, or even in the region. To be honest, the evidence, if you look for it, you won't find. So as a learning partner, we are tracking, and at the end of this year, hopefully our report will be able to say whether does this even work. But we already see that it does work, and we're already seeing that there are some challenges. Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gloria, for sharing all those learnings and many more that you will get to read when we share with you the reports, the inline evaluation report. In half a minute, Akim, what is the key takeaway that you want the audience to take from this project? Half a minute, please.
Okay, thanks, Miriam. Yeah. Okay, the cross-border project is a good project because it has three components: answering, or it's not compromising the needs of the communities in one way or the other. Much as we face some major challenges, maybe because it is a pilot project, as Gloria said, we are yet to give it a course. We would like to bring to the attention of those who might have interest in supporting the cross-border engagements that you might join us at any time, as we have so major challenges in engaging in this cross-border. For example, let me give this example. That is, the communities along the borders know their borders is blood relationship. But the political border tends to divide them. And this becomes a challenge because we already have the structures on the localization that we're talking about. But then we have also involved the regional security organs in this. But then we don't know who in the national government is involved in this so that the advocacy at the local level or the issues at the local level are taken at the national level. And the national government is able to address those issues along the borders. Because there are key issues that require the national government to attend to. But when they will attend to it, we don't know. But then they are a problem in the implementation of the program. So maybe we would like to ask all of us here, whoever might be close to us, let's try to configure our engagement with the higher authorities. And yesterday the question was asked, what will LPAC want to do with the national organization, with the national institutions? And that is a question I want all of us to take away, not me taking away. I want us to take away that what will we do for us who are at the higher positions? Can we get the relevant institutions that have mandate at the border force? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akim. Flora, in 1 minute, what can you say about the campus project and your experience with it? What is the key message that you want the audience to take?
Thank you so much, Moderator. I think with this initiative of the campus project, we really appreciate the initiative, especially the donors who are giving funds to our partners on the ground to implement the activities at the grassroots level. And you know, by then, most of the organizations, the international organizations, when they come, they go. But now they are trying to strengthen the local NGOs on the ground who are with the people, and they are able to intervene in case of any issues that are arising within the community. And we actually appreciate the campus by bringing up this project, and especially by forming the LPAC, the local advisory committee, who are actually monitoring the activities of the project. And up to this level, the LPAC2 on the ground are doing their work at their best level to make sure the project is successful. So we appreciate the campus, and maybe in future we still need your services, we still need you in other ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Flora. LPAC is Local Project Advisory Committee, and in this project we have level 1 and level 2. Level 1 is where Flora and Joe mostly have their engagements, and we also have some members of LPAC in the audience where you're seated. And then we also have the higher level 1 where we have the donors participate, and then the implementing partners. Thank you very much, Flora, for bringing out that. And let's have Joe. Joe, please, 1 minute.
Thank you, Miriam. I would like to say that Compass has been a success, but still there are still very many challenges which are still lying out there. It is upon this fact that I would like to call the stakeholders who are in this house to really still work together to ensure that those other challenges which are still remaining are handled, so that we have peace in our body. More especially, I would like to call upon stakeholders in northern Uganda and none other than in Namor, and then in those counties of Sudan, of southern Sudan, Magui, Gudi, and Nicholas, to go back and sing to the ground to ensure that the common person down there is also seeing something about peace development that might change. The change of mind towards loving peace should be emphasized so that we live as one people, and by doing this, we live as the requirement of this African community, which is bringing us together, and then by that we are also meeting the demand of Pan-Africanism. This need unity in Africa, this is one. Two, I would also like to appreciate our donors for making it to the level where we are placed. Remember, this program was going on, and the stakeholders would look like they were sleeping on their responsibilities. There was that complacency, seeing things going wrong, but nobody would come to handle them. So with the support of the donors and the people, the architects of this particular project in the name of LWF, they stepped forward to ensure that this problem needs to be addressed. And that is where we work from and came up to this level where we are at least able to point out something positive. Right from the time I got involved in the implementation of this project, I realized some drastic reduction in cattle rustling, which was the order of the day, right from the time Uganda got independent in 1962, and it is still being addressed now. This is something that we need to contemplate upon and reflect on, such that with support, sometimes supports that come like this, reactivate us into our activities. These activities that we should have done ordinarily as government. So I want to thank you very much and call upon members of local project advisory committee to continue playing our role even beyond the end of the project, because I know this project is ending by December this year. So I call upon you, because this is just additional work we are also doing as expertise in our own way. Security, community, health, and all. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Joe talks because he's from the government, so when government is speaking, you don't stop them. But thank you very much, Joe. Allow me to give the opportunity to Charles. Charles, please, a minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. There is no magic bullet, and that means when engaging in cross-border project like this one, there's a lot of needs for flexibility from our side of programming, but also on the side of donors. And then also the need for coordination, as my colleagues have mentioned, is very important. Why? Yesterday, a representative from abroad made kind of like pointed on those big spaces on the polar banner. And on the polar banner, you could see the donors, you could see the implementers, but there's a lot of space that we need to explore and make use of. And this means you working a lot like with the community down there, working a lot with different actors on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. And finally, Angela.
Thank you. So I said yesterday that this is one of my favorite projects. And what I think I like sitting in my seat the best about this is that what we were hoping for, what we asked for was people-centered approaches. And this project has done really well with the partners, CSS, LWF Uganda, LWF South Sudan, in creating, not only creating and forming the structure of the local project advisory committee, but using it to their advantage. And somehow, encouraging, because we've seen it in other contexts, the local participation from the leaders, from the local government, is not as strong in other projects. It's very strong here. So the culture, the trust, the relationship that's been created by this active participation from both the implementing partners and then the local leaders and the community is really, I think, very strong, and that comes, I think, out of mutual respect and accountability, where you're each playing a very important role and you feel that you're being listened to and the actions are being taken together in a common and co-creative manners. That's my favorite.
Thank you very much, Angela. And let's give a round of applause to the panelists, please. And just like the same, we all need to be appreciated. Let's give another round of applause for each of us for the participation as well. I know it's the close of the day and everybody is looking out of the door, and we just wanted to give just a little bit of time for anybody who really has a burning question and wants to ask the panelists. Yes, I can see a hand already up. Can somebody reach out to you with a microphone?
Thank you very much, Compass. Thank you so much. One thing I want to demystify, and I also want LPAC to copy the original system they had for implementing program in Karamoja. There was what we call RAM. That's what we used to call PAR, then RAM. PAR is participatory action research. Why you engage the community, not armchair research. Then you produce what's called RAM. That means part of research, action, and monitor. It was LPAC that initiated that project within the Karamoja. And that's how we came to know that the woman is a pillar in your home. I appreciated you all when you said, when you engage women, the women were able to take a point down to the government that chase all the cows from the town. We don't want to continue suffering. If you strengthen a woman, I'm telling you the truth, no insecurity will come. No thieves will come. Because the secret the man has, the woman knows more. Am I wrong? But this is the context of pastoralists. In the context of pastoralists, the woman knows more. And even if you show her the land, she will never forget boundaries. Even if she loses her eyes, she will walk like this and count. I'm telling you, but this is out of experience. We need a cross-border peace program between the Turkana and the Pokot. Women were the spearhead that were the ones suffering. It's not you men, you are all killing. When you are killed, we are the people to be dressed differently. And you men don't dress differently. To show that we are still mourning on you. I want you to strengthen this, I want you to continue, and I want you to have one heart. The idea of having is it lower level or higher level, please unite, work together. Go back and rethink. And if you need a contact, please, I'll give you my contact. You can always talk on Zoom and where. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other question? Okay, there is a question over there.
First of all, I would like to give thanks to Master of Ceremony to allow me to stand. You, Alfred James, coming from Moderators, South Sudan, working as a chairperson for CDSS LPAC chairperson. I think quite enough. All along yesterday, I picked some other things, which is good. I would like also to take this chance to thank the LWF as the partner. It has been mentioned all along that they have done work a lot for 45 years. If I remember, also I think we saw this LWF in South Sudan around 2000. They also constructed some schools whereby most of us also ran there, and we are able to stand before people and talk. Those are part of the contribution the LWF to show in South Sudan, not only in Uganda. Secondly, I think I stood here and may ask the wrong question, whereby most people who could answer this question, they are gone. But all the same, I can throw to the floor. I've been listening my members from Karamoja regions, from other places, which means LWF have done a lot with the UNHCR helping us. I was also once a refugee in Jolofi. Those years, we see the ways of many partners who are doing. So we encourage, if I feel my colleagues who will come and then return suffering on the way, it is pain. So it is the collective responsibility to all of us, both the Uganda border and then South Sudan border, whether being the partners or the LPACs. I think LPACs are doing much work on the voluntary basis, as we always do the routine of the work in our community. So my work is as much as they say the NGOs are going to, partner is going to end by the end of the year, whereby there are some other challenges still growing. We hope and we feel as a community so that we can able to go ahead. I know as there has been talked that it's not individual responsibilities for everyone, and the partner may not meet all the needs of the community. So there are some other things along the border, cross-border. We have IDPs, and then we have the returnees and the host community. And one first and priority is peace always. So as what we are doing, we continue praising and then telling the issue of peace. Because peace is not only a minute, not only a day. We need to continue telling. If we talk that, okay, it reduces, then we forget. Things will happen. Much needed in the border. So with the partners who are here all inside the house, there are some other things which was implemented by the partner or the part of LWS, like CDSS who operating in South Sudan. I think they did their best, what they have. They constructed the schools in Ikotos and Udi, but the classes were not enough. Whereby the classes, the school was targeted the population of the region who are returning from Uganda, so that they can also join the colleagues who are in South Sudan. But the classes was only 2. Senior secondary school would be only 2 classes. I don't know the reason is better, maybe the fund was limited. But we are able as a community to share the school together, so that we hope maybe when they continue, they will also add more classes so that we make the complete secondary school as for 85. And also the same to my county border like Ibudi, the big renovation, whereby we are hoping, but it brings me worried. Since they are saying they are going to stop, who are those who are to support? Where are we going to go? How are we going to continue? So that's why I'm saying the government in South Sudan and the government in Uganda, they need also to involve in case of any partners when they are coming to bring that activities across the border to support our fellow refugees who are standing home, and then the IDP person is placed. And then another one also in the border. I don't know what are the strategy the government and the partners, maybe the UNHCR are putting. Our people are returning. First of all, I would like to know what type of repatriation is that being carried in the border. The former speaker talked of that. There are returnees who are returning, going and then coming back. What are the types? Is the government aware? Is it the government concerned or the UNHCR? When they are returning, what are the kind of support being given to these people who are crossing the border? So, and then another thing, what are the ways can we put forward? Like Seruwagi, people are coming sometimes, there was no water, I think they have just renovated. They put some water in place to help it, not enough. There are many entrances from Akilo going to, that is the border of Kitiku, and then from Kabong entering that side of Sudi, even from that side of Magu. So this is what I'm bringing as the helper, because it has been, the thing will be left to us as the community so that we will change. So these are some of the questions I just want to also talk in the public so that we get a thing. Otherwise, I'd like to thank the initiator of the project, like the campus. I think they did a lot. So in the border, we are able this time to enter. Sometimes we are not being disturbed because of the meeting. The government is sharing, even the partners are sharing. So not like usually, because those days our returnees were going. Sometimes they can lose their property simply because the border issues was still. When they are going with their items, at times our fellow Uganda from the border they were moving, or when they also reach to South Sudan, some other long tours, they may also take their property. But when these things come, I think they are now moving. So this is just simply what I wanted to say. But I think I need to thank the LWF also for the work they have done. So there's a school there, they normally call LWF Primary School, but which is not the
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the observations that you've made and the reflection on the project. And what I picked from what the two people from the audience who actually stood up is the fact that Campus Project just opened up space for conversation on cross-border programming. So there's a little that the project has done, and there's quite a lot that has to still be done. And this requires a concerted effort and different stakeholders taking interest in it, because when we have peace, then everything else will fall in place. So that is what I take from the two people who stood up to speak. And because of time, allow me not to allow the panelists to speak again, because otherwise we might miss the next session, which is just around the corner. But please allow me to appreciate all the panelists for what they have delivered to us, and for you for being a great audience. But also I want to take the opportunity to appreciate the donors. As LWF, we have many donors, but specifically I'll mention the ones that have been supporting the cross-border project, which is Bread for the World, and Bread for the World is actually in the house. And then we also have the European Union, who we have representatives, but they sent their apologies, they weren't able to be here. And then we have UNOPS, represented by Angela, who is here in person. And of course the implementing partners, that is inclusive of LWF Uganda, LWF South Sudan, and then CDSS and Makerere, who are here present with us. So I want to take the opportunity to thank them so much for being here, and allow me to bring the session to a close and wish LWF a happy birthday. Thank you. So just like the previous panel, we'll have the panelists just take a picture, and then we can go to the next session. And I know that Apollo is actually going to invite somebody who will crown up fully this panel discussion, that is Crystal. But I'll allow him to invite him properly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam and the panel. Let's give them a big hand. Excellent. Thank you. We are right on time. We were supposed to finish at exactly 5:30, and we are now, it's now 5:22, so we still have about 8 minutes to use. Thank you so much to all the panelists, to all the moderators for not only managing time, but giving us excellent content. May I now take this opportunity to invite Chris from Bread for the World to come and just, wrap it wrap it up for us. A big applause for Chris as he comes up. Thank you.